Hi, this is Sarah Yates, and we're going to talk a little bit about Chapter 6, Experience and Learning. And when we read this chapter, we're going to learn about our life experiences as a source of learning, and that is particularly important with the adult that is involved in taking a course. And those experiences might be physical experiences, emotional, cognitive, or even social and spiritual experiences can lead to learning. When we talk about the experience-learning relationship, we're just saying that experiences can create learning. And then when we're learning, we're promoting the learning of and exploring of new experiences. And those new experiences lead to further learning. And so we're really talking about a cycle of having experiences and learning. And some of the earliest teachings on experience and learning come from Aristotle, who said that we can learn through our daily life, and also through Dewey, who said that learning is applying our previous experiences to new situations. And he saw life as just a lifelong process of learning. Malcolm Knowles highlights experience as a rich resource that adults bring to the classroom. Through those previous experiences, adult learners have already developed mental habits and personal feelings towards issues. And sometimes adult learners come to the classroom with their minds already closed to new ideas. I like to use the example of my children learning to play the piano. When they practice a song incorrectly, and they do that over the course of 5 or 6 days, when they go back to their piano lesson and their teacher says, no, that's not the way that it's supposed to be played, they have to unlearn their previous experiences. They have to unlearn the way that they've been practicing the piano in order to learn to correctly play the piece. I also wanted to highlight the 6 stages of learning that we think about when we're dealing with adults in our classrooms. And we have to be sure that our adults are motivated. We have to be sure that they are oriented to the content that we are presenting or teaching. And we have to be sure that our adult learners are involved in whatever we're doing in the classroom or in whatever they're doing through online courses in the comfort of their home or office. And we want to be sure that we provide learning activities that align with our objectives, that we are giving our adult learners opportunities for reflection, and that we are also making any adaptations that we need to in our courses. When we talk about learning with experience, I think about my current experience in teaching undergrads here at Southeastern. There are basically 4 ways that are discussed in your chapter of your textbook that experience can be incorporated into learning, and current experience is one of those ways. The learning activities in a class that I might be taking working on my doctorate, if I can take those learning activities and I can connect them to my current life experiences, my learning is multiplied. And so our adult learners place instruction and activities into their immediate circumstances in order to reap the benefits of what they're learning. If you are a pastor taking a class on education, you can take what you have learned in your education courses and apply it to what you're trying to teach your congregation. When we read about the constructivists in this chapter, we're going to learn that they say that meaning is constructed by experiences and reflection. And when I teach my son Wyatt, who has dyslexia, I pull on my experiences as a classroom teacher in working with students with specific learning disabilities. I pull on my experiences of being a public school teacher and having the special ed teacher come into my classroom in the FUSE model, where we've kept those children in the mainstream classroom. And so I'm pulling on my experience. When I'm going through the process of teaching, I have these aha moments where I think about when the doctor explained Wyatt's brain processes to me and his interhemispherical connections. And I reflect on how Wyatt had learned in the past and how I am currently teaching him new content. So I'm reflecting on my experiences, I'm reflecting on what the doctor said, and I'm using those strategies to tell Wyatt, relax. I want you to look at the picture as I'm teaching you about how this diesel engine operates. When I read about situative learning in the chapter, I thought of my husband and son being faced with the situation of our dishwasher not working. And we researched on Google how to fix the dishwasher. And so we often are faced with adult learners learning through doing, tied to some situation that they've experienced in their personal lives. In the psychoanalytic section of the chapter, it talks about our unconscious desires and fears can affect an adult's ability to learn. And I just wanted to give you a quick example. My daughter babysits Olivia in the pink shirt, and Olivia can be a little fearful of new experiences. And Bethany tries to expose her to new experiences. And in this little video, she's trying to expose her to animals at our house. You might have experienced the same thing, trying to get your child to put his or her face into the pool and to get it wet. So in this video, my kids have taken Olivia down to the pig pen to show her how much the little baby pigs have grown.
Put in the pen for the pig. Throw it in the pen, Olivia. Throw it in there for him. There you go. Oh, man. Look at all them head bones. Olivia, what's the pig say? Olivia? No, that's my glasses. What's the pig say?
Ruff, ruff. Don't let her jump up on her hand. You'll scare her.
So you notice in the video that as soon as Grandpa says, don't let them jump up on her and scare her, Olivia begins to back away, and she can't learn when she's frightened. So that's just a little example to think about as you read about the psychoanalytic section in your textbook. There's a section on reflective practice in your text, and we can call this practice-based learning. We acquire learning when we are practicing something. We improve our teaching when we practice new strategies in the classroom. So this is a way that adults acquire learning. And in my language arts class, I brought in puppets and was talking about using puppets in the classroom in different language arts settings. And I broke my students into groups and had them go out and work on a presentation, just 10 or 15 minutes to work, come back to the class and present something using the puppets, just so that they would remember that activity, that they would remember the opportunity to use puppets in the classroom. And this turned into a reflective practice for me. My groups went out into the hallway and to other empty classrooms. It was an evening course, so we pretty much had the availability of the entire second floor of the B&E building. And the groups came back to present a song. And as this group was presenting, I thought to myself, I have no idea what the lyrics are to the song. I can't understand the singers. And suddenly it dawns on me in the middle of my class that I should have planned this lesson a little bit differently. Maybe I could have brought in music and given my students a choice of a patriotic song. But I should have done it differently, and that is reflective in action. I'm reflecting on my experience, and so that can happen during the practice, or it can maybe be a reflection that you're doing after you've taught a course. As a minister, you might reflect on how you presented the message. You might reflect on a different way to do the altar call next time. But when we are reflecting during the lesson or during the action, it's kind of like thinking quickly on your feet. And that kind of separates the novice from the expert. And of course, we as Christians also believe in the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And so consider those as you are reading the section in your chapter on reflection and practice. A final part of our chapter that I just wanted to bring your attention to was that on communities of practice, or we might call it learning communities. And I think this is such an important part of adult education because the interaction of learners is vital in an adult class. And when we think of a community of learners, we might think of something, out in the community, such as this sewing class. This is a community built by some adults that have a common interest. But in our classroom, we should develop a community of learners. They are adults gathered together to enhance their skills in the area of assessment or whatever your course is. And also, when we have community of learners, sometimes we see that we have some, old timers in the group that can help mentor the new students along. And in the case of the picture here, we might have a lady who says, "Oh, I sewed a jumper like that for my granddaughter last year. Let me show you a little trick that I learned, in putting in the zipper." In our classroom, it might be someone sharing a tip on technology. Let me show you how I add the header to my paper and make the first page different from the rest of the headers in the document. So just a little reminder to be conscious of the fact that you are teaching a community of learners. I hope you enjoy the different topics that you will explore this week in continuing to learn more about educating adults.